when I sent the word out about this talk on Facebook, and I want to invite everyone to also like the Unity of Connersville page. I'll send you the link. Because then when I announce things on Facebook, there's a Unity of Connersville page. I'll send you the link. If you like that, then when I send out information, you can share it with everybody so that the word will really start getting out. But let's do that as well. Let's just really share. Because when I was kind of sharing this with people on Facebook, I said that this was rated XXX. The Lover and the Beloved. And the reason it's rated XXX is because it's extraordinary, it's exhilarating, it's exciting, and it is the real deal to talk about the lover and the beloved. And I do have a true story. This is a true story. It's a little, it's not a little story, but it's a significant story about my own personal spiritual quest and how I got where I am today. In 1979, the end of 1979 and the beginning of 1980, I had always wanted to hike the Appalachian Trail because where I live and when I grew up in Shamokin, if you go from Shamokin to Harrisburg, you always went over Peters Mountain, and the Appalachian Trail follows the crest of Peters Mountain and it crosses the road. And so every time we would go that way to Harrisburg, I would see the sign, Appalachian Trail. And I always wanted to do that, but I really didn't know how to start. And I was living in Iowa at the time, and a young woman who had hiked the trail did a presentation, did slides and stuff. And I went to see the slides, and she talked about how to prepare and all this other stuff about how to do the Appalachian Trail, where to get the maps, etc., etc. And I thought, I'm going to do this. And I decided to do it in 1980. And I decided to be different and go southbound, which means you start in almost the top of Maine, which is Mount Katahdin, and you start south to Springer, Georgia. So I was going to do that. And I was home for Christmas. When my parents were alive, I always came home for Christmas to spend Christmas Day with them. And I was spending a couple days, and over the Christmas holidays, they always have a basketball tournament. Now, I played basketball in high school, and my youngest sister, who's like 13 years younger than me, she was playing, so I went to watch her play. And in the group of people, the spectators, there was this woman, and I knew who she was. Because when you play basketball, you know who the good players are. Even years after that, I would always go, and I knew who the good players were. And her name was Clara Higgins. And they used to call her Spider, because Clara Higgins was like all arms and legs. And when she'd be out there, it was like, she looked like the spider, so we used to call her Spider. And I sat down and started talking to her, and I was saying, oh, I want to do this Appalachian Trail. She goes, oh, I would love to do that. I'll do some days with you. And so I said, oh, okay, you can join me. You can come. We can do 10 days worth or whatever. So she decided to do that. So when the spring came, it was really June because the black flies are so bad in Maine, you have to wait till about June to start. So I did the first 10 days. And if you've ever hiked the Appalachian Trail, in Maine, it's really wilderness. The first 100 miles, there's no towns, nothing. So the first 100 miles are really kind of rough, and plus you're starting out. I mean, you do try and be in shape, but you're first starting out. So I walked did the first 100 miles, and I don't remember what the town is, Monsoon, I think, Maine. And she was going to meet me there, and she was going to do the next 10 days. So she parked her car there, and she joined me, and we were going to do the next 10 days together. Now, Clara Higgins, you have to know about Clara Higgins. Clara Higgins was a nun, but she got in so much trouble that they said, we're not quite sure this fits. And Clara Higgins always wanted to be a medical mission nun. And she would wear like sweatpants under her habit, and she would be out there playing basketball with the kids, and she'd be flying down hills on, is he called a toboggan?
Yeah.
A toboggan or a sled. She had her sweatpants on, and she was always getting into trouble. So they just said, this is not the right fit. So Clara Higgins is an ex-nun, and we're hiking the Appalachian Trail, and we go about 5 days, and she hurts her knee. And she hurts her knee enough that we have to get off. And so I'm looking at the map, and about a mile, we're still 5 days from town, because we're going to do 10 days. But I saw on the map that about a mile away there was a road. And we could hike to that road, but the road was a road, it ended at a lake, and so it was a dead-end road. It wasn't like a road where there's a lot of traffic. And she said to me, and I was not going to church at the time, I was burned out of church. I swore I'd never participate in organized religion again, never in my entire life. I was just like angry with God, etc., etc. And Clara Higgins said to me, because her car was 50 miles away, she said to me, if we get my car tonight, would you go back to church? And I said, yeah, okay, sure. We're not going to get the car. I'm thinking it's 50 miles away. Your knees hurt. How are we going to get the car? So I said, yeah, okay. So we get to the road, and within a couple minutes, this guy in a pickup truck comes by, picks us up. He's got Cokes in a cooler in back, gives us some Cokes, drives us to the next town, and drops us off. It wasn't a Dairy Queen, but it was like a Tasty Freeze kind of place where they had ice cream and stuff. And so we're sitting there and stuff, and we thought, well, let's go and we'll have some ice cream. And again, she reminds me, if we get to my car before the sun sets, you're going to go back to church, right? Yeah. So, because I'm thinking, it's still 50 miles away. It's like, what's the big deal? So we go and we get our drinks and hamburgers and stuff, and we're just talking to the woman who served us, and she goes, oh, Monsoon, I think it's called Monson. Monson? Oh, my son works there. And he's going there at 6 o'clock. I'm sure he'll give you a ride. So I'm thinking, oh, I'm in trouble now. So, seriously, we get the ride, we get to the car, believe it or not. And so, and what was really intriguing about this woman is that she called, like she really liked St. Anthony, but she would call him Tony. She goes, I'm going to go talk to Tony for a while. And she treated God like Jesus Christ and stuff, like they were her best buddies. And I was so intrigued by that. I thought, oh, I think I want that too. I really want to know what that's like. And Clara Higgins was the kind of person that if we were driving through town and there was a drunk or an alcoholic or a homeless person that fell in the intersection, she would stop her car in the middle of the intersection. She would get out, pick that person up. When she would enter the room, there was this peace and love that would fill the room. That's the kind of person that she was. It was like, wow, I wonder if I could get to be a buddy with God, if I could have that too. And you know that now, Clara Higgins, she was a nun. She had not gone to college yet. She went to PA school, physician's assistant. She became a surgery assistant, and she's a doctor now. She is a vascular surgeon. She became what she wanted to be, and is just really helping a lot of people. But she was the catalyst that led me on this new path, because I was totally burned out from church and was angry with God. And so I really say 1980. With that hike was the beginning of my true spiritual quest. After that, I searched. I went to all different kinds of churches. I was taking classes. I learned all kinds of healing techniques. I studied crystals and stones. I learned about the goddess. I even did Wicca for a while, trying to find, I'm searching for this path that's going to lead me to be this buddy. I want to be buddy with God. I want to be the beloved. And I want God to be my lover. I want God to be my best friend. I want to see what that feels like. And when I started going to Unity, and the first time I walked into Unity of Harrisburg, it was like a coming home experience. That's how I don't know if anybody else has ever experienced that coming to Unity. It felt like that was home to me. And a couple of years later, I was singing a duet with the minister. It was an Easter Sunday. And I don't know if anyone's ever experienced being whomped by the Spirit. But if you're ever whomped, I call it whomped by the Spirit. Some people call it slain in the Spirit. If you've ever been whomped by the Spirit, you will never forget it. Because that happened to me, and it was like my whole body filled with like such joy and such happiness and such love. I couldn't even believe it. And all of a sudden my visual perception changed, and everybody looked beautiful. I would look outside and the trees would look beautiful, and even the weeds looked beautiful, and a blade of grass looked beautiful. And I was like on this, it was like a high, a natural high. I was on this high. It was so awesome, and I didn't even have to eat. couple days, I didn't have to eat anything, I didn't have to drink anything, I was so high. And then eventually it just gets integrated, everything gets integrated, and you kind of come back down, you know, into the real world. But it's, I don't know if you've ever experienced it, but it was like being in love with everything, being in love with every tree, every plant, every animal, every person. It was an unbelievable experience. And so what I've learned from this is there's no place you can go, there's no book you can read, there's no church you can go, no workshop you can go to, no healing technique you can learn. It happens when you're ready. And all you have to do is say, I am willing for you to be my beloved. I am willing for you to be my beloved. I am willing to be your beloved. And that willingness is going to happen at the most unexpected moment. But I can tell you that you will not forget it. You will not forget it when it happens. And so as I was coming here, going out to my car, I almost tripped over this letter. This card that was laying outside the door, and it says Heaven Sent.
Okay.
And I thought, what the heck? Of course you can see it's all stamped on this stuff. So I opened it up. I opened this letter up, and it says, you may sometimes feel apart, but I want to know you're always in my heart, always thinking of you. And it says, all my heart, I love you, God. God sent me a Valentine. He sent us all a Valentine. So I want to read to you what God has to say. And this is what God has to say. Dear beloveds, I will take you by the hands like a lover and lead you to heaven. What can I do but show you heaven? Where can I take you but where I am? And where do you want to be but at the summit with me? Be with me, and you will know the peace that heaven brings. Stay with me, and you will know it forever, for heaven is a name for the truth of life. Your being is the current of the world that flows in every reaching arches of love. Notice, my love, you have been looking elsewhere. From where does a rose come from but the heart of God? Love was so great, it burst into bloom. Its petals encompass everything. They encompass you. I chose you long ago and have never gotten over you. I dance ahead of you, and I leave gifts along the way, remembrances of you, so that you will remember me. How you deal with me is how you deal in life. How we meet and how far or close, that is your story. Or how you run away, for how long and how we meet again. It is a love story, our story. My will is for my love to shine everywhere through you. You are delightful toasts that I raise to myself. I raise my glass so high that no one misses the sight of it, and all clink their cups with me. This is a unique toast we make, so I invite you to hold your cup. Hold your cup. Hold your cup. We cling to the stars. We cling to the sun and moon. We cling to our own unimpermeable oneness, to our oneness.
Salute.
Whose are you, if not mine? Beloved, there is no need to sail alone on this adventure. We are meant to share. I hold out my hand to you and pull you into my heart. Right where you stand, your heart rises to heaven. Feel the glow. Stop waiting for me. You already have me. I am ready for our adventure. You are still looking for your shoes. Love has but one rule, and that is to give. What does love do but make oneness apparent? You are that which I dreamed of, and my dream has come true. I love you, God.
It's found outside.
Yes,
It fell from the heavens.
it fell from the heavens. It says heaven sent. It says heaven sent. It fell from heaven. Such a goober. Yes, of course I found it outside. But guess who put it there? God. isn't me, put it there.
Just ignore her.
I know, seriously. Oh, you are a goober. That's okay.
I think it's cool.
Wasn't that cool though? Imagine, wouldn't you like a love letter like that from God?
Yes.
We'll have to ask God to send you one too. Okay. And so I invite you, we are God's beloved. There is no separation. Remember a couple weeks ago I shared what Mother Teresa said when she was being interviewed by Jean Houston. Jean Houston said, well, how is it that you get to go all these different places that a lot of people don't get to go? You get visas when they're not even giving out visas. And Mother Teresa said, oh, you don't understand. I am so in love with Christ that he will do anything for me. And he is so in love with me that he will do anything for me. So I invite you to really be that beloved. I invite you to look at the person next to you. Just take a look around. Those people, because we are all one, those people are your beloved. And I want to invite you to say to the person next to you, you are the beloved. Go ahead.
You are the beloved.
Go ahead, say that.
You are
You are the beloved.
Yes, you are the beloved. How true it is.
I didn't get your Valentine.
You are the beloved. I don't need a Valentine.
We are the beloved. So I have another story to tell you which I think really hits this home. But in this story here, I want you to think about who you are in this story. And is God in this story or not? And this is a story, and this is a real intriguing story because when I was teaching, this is 1991, 4th grade learning disabilities class. This is a story in a 4th grade reader. And I was so impressed by the story that I copied it. I was just so impressed with it. And the story is The Mountain That Loved a Bird. So I'm going to share this story with you, which really kind of hits home about how powerful love can be. There was a mountain, a hard, barren mountain, on this desert plain. The mountain felt the wind, the mountain felt the rain, but there was nothing else to feel. He at least felt that much. The mountain would watch the sunrise and the sunset, and the moon rise and the moon set, and sometimes he would see twinkling stars, but there was nothing else to see. There were no animals, no plants, no bugs, nothing on this mountain. It was a barren mountain. One day a bird appeared, circled above the mountain, landed on the mountain's side, preened its feathers, and the mountain noticed, and the mountain said, wow, who are you? And the mountain noticed, could feel that it was like snuggling up to the mountain, and the mountain said, who are you? What's your name? And the bird said, I am a bird, and my name is Joy. And the mountain said, wow, I've never felt or experienced anything like you before. Could you stay? And the bird said, well, every spring I come from the land that is green, and every spring I go out and fly around in search of a place to make my nest. And the mountain said, please, could you please stay? I've never experienced anything like you. And the bird said, well, there's nothing here to eat or drink, so I can't stay here. But I'll stay for a while, you know. And so it started to sing, and the mountain, a bell-like song, and the mountain had never heard a song. And so again the mountain says, well, could you come back? If you can't stay, could you come back? And the bird said, I have landed on many mountains, but no mountain has ever cared whether I came or went. So I will make you a promise. I will come back every spring. But I also want you to know this, that because I am a bird, I don't live as long as the mountain would, so I don't know how many times I will return. And the mountain said, well, you know, I really don't care. He said, it would really make me happy if you would come back. And if it's only a couple visits, that's fine, because I really feel happy that you're here. And so the bird Joy says, well, then I will make you this promise, because again, no mountain has ever cared whether I came or went. And Joy said, I will have one of my daughters I will name Joy. And I will tell her how to find you. And when she has a daughter, she will name that daughter Joy. And she will tell her how to find you. And as it will progress, Joy will have Joy, will have Joy, will have Joy. So that as long as you live, you will have a friend to come visit you and sing for you. And so 99 springs passed. 99 times the bird came. And the mountain, every single time the mountain would say, could you please stay? I am so happy when you're here with me. Could you please stay? And once again the bird said, no, I have to go. I have to go find a place to have my nest. And this time, the 100th time, the mountain's heart broke. And out of the crack in the mountain's heart, tears began to flow. And the tears became a stream and went down the mountainside. And the bird left. And then the bird came back again. And she said, and again, she noticed this time that the mountain was so sad and was so into sorrow that he couldn't even speak. But the bird still flew above the mountain, sang a song, and then went on her way. But she noticed the stream. And so harder and harder, again, the mountain just cried. And the more it would cry, the more its heart was broken, the more streams began to flow down the mountain. And so the bird came again, and this time the bird brought a seed and tucked it in a little moist place, you know, where the mountain, near the stream, so that it would stay moist. And the mountain was so encompassed with sorrow that it still couldn't speak. And so the mountain again just flew around a little bit, landed on its side, and then flew off. And every year, for many years, the mountain would bring more seeds. The bird would bring more seeds. And that very first seed began to have roots. And the roots like really went deep into the earth and deep into the heart of that mountain. But the mountain never noticed. And trees, that first seed became a little bunch of leaves. And the leaves started to absorb the sun. And the mountain, still stuck in sorrow, did not notice. And then moss started to grow. And then bugs started to come. But the mountain was still so stuck in his own sorrow that he didn't notice. And then one day, all of a sudden, it noticed. And his tears of sorrow turned to tears of happiness. And he asked the bird again, please, could you please stay? And the bird still said, no. I have to go find a place to have my nest. And trees started to grow, and plants and animals started to come, because now there was food, and the wind blew all different kind of plants and bugs. And the mountain, the whole bit of the mountain became alive. As far as the mountain could see, even the desert plain turned into this lush bit of plants and animals and life. And the mountain really started to notice it, and it felt this surge of hope. And it just dug as the trees and the plants and things dug deep deep inside the earth, the roots and stuff started to heal the mountain's heart. And the mountain, because it felt this surge of hope, gave every plant all of its strength, so that all of these plants would grow into magnificent trees and flowers. And then one day the bird came, and it had in its beak a twig. And it went to that very first seed, because now that very first seed became a tree. And the mountain again, because it was so happy, said to the bird, could you please stay? And the bird said, it went to that very first tree and stuck that twig into the very first tree, and it said, my name is Joy, and I have come here to stay, because it was going to build its nest. That story brings tears to my eyes every time. That was like I thought that was the coolest story of all.